Ranger, what mods would I be doing? What would I be doing to try to get the most out of it? I'm going to run you over some of the very basic stuff that I would do if I owned, whether it was a 2.2 or 3.2 Ford Ranger with the 6-speed auto, or if it was a 2-litre bi-turbo or the 3-litre V6 with the 10-speed auto. But first, some caffeine. Right, let's start with the 2.2 and 3.2, starting with the engine. So this will apply to the manuals as well. Your EGR system, your EGR valve and your cooler, both of them tend to fail. One of them, if it's the EGR cooler, if that starts to fail, could take out your engine too. First thing I'll do is get the entire EGR system bypassed. So get the EGR cooler bypassed and get the valve professionally turned off via the software. Not with this stupid little loom that you can plug in to the MAF sensor in the engine bay. And this includes PX1 Rangers as well. A lot of people think that you don't need to tune the EGR valve out on the PX1. It may last 1 month, it may last 6 months, fuck, it may even last 12 months, but eventually that EGR circuit's gonna fail. So I would be getting it turned off professionally and then know that it's actually turned off. Now the next thing I would be doing is fixing that fucking wiring loom that sits on the top of the front of the timing cover where the wiring runs across the top, because it just rubs to eventually and then causes all sorts of fucking problems. You might get turbo actuator codes, you might get cam angle sensor codes, or you can have other potential problems too. Just fix that wiring at the top. Next thing I'll do is I'll get rid of the factory rubber intercooler hose, in particular on the passenger side, but I'll just do both sides altogether. You can either put upgraded silicone hoses, or you can put some hard steel pipes in there. I would be chucking hard steel pipes in there and then just being done with it. Now next thing that I will do is, because I see this is fucking super common, injectors and the high pressure fuel pump, I see them fucking fail all the time and they are not cheap. I don't know if this is going to be the answer that fixes all of them, but the people that I know that run a lot of injector cleaner or fuel related cleaner in every tank or every couple tanks on those cars, the high pressure pumps and the injectors tend to do 400,000 Ks, no issues. Whereas the people that didn't run it, depending where they are in Australia, the injectors are very common to fail. Like I said, don't know if that's the answer, but for the sake of putting a $15 bottle on top of my fuel tank every couple tanks, it's not gonna break the bank. Potentially will save me spending thousands getting injectors fixed and the high pressure fuel pump as well. Now when it comes to the 6-speed auto, at the very bare minimum, bypass valve and trans coolers. Even if no intention of towing, no intention of off-roading, car was just purely for highway, I would still bypass valve and trans coolers. Seen it too many times here now that the ones that are running high temps, didn't matter whether they were off-roading or towing, it was always shit inside the pan. And all the ones that I've seen that have been running bypass valves and trans coolers, it was always 100 times better in the pan. There was fuck all debris inside on the magnet. So it tells me that everything is happier when the temps are that little bit lower. Now also, just on that topic, when it comes to the deep cast pan and valve body upgrades and all that sort of stuff, they are more for people that I think want to off-road a lot or go really hard, or the people that tow quite often. If you're going to tow like 2 ton every now and then, don't worry about it. But if you're like a tradie towing an excavator 3 tons every single day, then yeah, maybe consider it. Next thing I will do is the torque converter in the auto, because they are really common to just break. The welds on them snap, and then you could have a perfectly driving car today and tomorrow you have no gears and the auto has to come out. You can upgrade it. I would upgrade it and put a billet torque converter in. There's a few companies across Australia that make them, but they move away from the welded drive plate and stud setup, and they move back to just a solid billet or steel ring, fully welded to the torque converter, and you run conventional bolts, and it will save you pulling over, waiting for a tow truck. All right, 2-litre bi-turbo, same thing. Intercooler hoses, they are dog shit. Especially the one on the driver's side where it meets the intercooler, always leaking. Even if it looks dry from the top, run your hand under it and you'll feel that it's probably going to be wet and it's going to be leaking and you're going to be losing power and fuel economy. So there are upgraded ones, or I would just keep standard ones on hand because they are quite easy to just change even on the side of the road. But yes, I would be rectifying or preparing for that, because I've seen that causing same thing like the 3.2 and 2.2. They throw like mass airflow sensor codes because the actual volume of air is not the correct amount that the computer is expecting to see in the engine as it's running, and it just throws everything out of whack. It even contributes to how the auto acts as well. Now this is the biggest fucking thing about the 2 litres, and everyone knows them, the wet belts. I don't exactly have in writing what Ford's service interval is for those engines, but I've heard so many different ones, and I think that they're all way too high. If I owned a bi-turbo, I would be servicing that engine every 5 to 7,000 Ks, and not using any cheap fluid. Use a really good fluid. Use, at the very minimum, something that meets the fucking specs. Don't just grab any 530 off the shelf that's cheaper. Get the one that meets the specs. If it was me, I would be running the best premium top shelf fluid that I could find and running that every 5 to 7,000 Ks. Because as you know, the timing belt, dipped in oil all of its life. If you use crap oil that deteriorates really quick, or if you just neglect changing the oil and then the belt's running in it, it's going to deteriorate the belt, and then when that snaps, you're going to need a new engine. Alright, when it comes to the auto, you got heaps of stuff available on the market. There are deep cast pans, there are trans coolers, there's valve body upgrades. I'm nearly done testing bypass valves for them as well. Just quietly, my suggestion at the very bare minimum is service the goddamn thing. Don't listen to Ford where they say that it's sealed for life. Actually service it. I would run trans coolers and I would run a bypass valve when they're available. And I personally would put a deep cast pan on it purely so it's easier to service as well. Not for the temp reduction. I would do it just because I would personally, if I own one of those autos, I'd be servicing them every 20,000 because I see them fail very early. It is very common for people to come here at 100,000 Ks and they're either on their second engine or their second auto or both. So I'd be servicing it more just to try and get the most out of it. Just remember, no one has ever had a problem from over servicing their engine or their transmission. Everyone's had a problem for neglecting it or putting it on the back burner. All right, and for the 3 litre V6s, they are actually a pretty good fucking motor. And if you didn't know, they've been running that engine for a long time, but it's just been updated as it's gone on. Same foundation and base was used in the Ford Territory diesels back in the day. They've been used in Land Rovers, and obviously now they're in the Ford Ranger and they're in the Amaroks, but they're updated along the way. The early ones had a lot of plastic bits, the newer ones have a lot of aluminium bits, but same foundation, same base. The idea was still the same. Most common thing that I've seen with them actually is just the turbo return line where it meets the block tends to leak oil, and the direction that it runs down, it actually looks like that you've done a rear main seal. But other than that, I actually haven't seen many problems with those V6s. Just service them. The only times I see them is for servicing, not for repairs, which tells me that they're not too bad. But they do run the same fucking auto that is behind the 2 litre bi-turbo. So they still have that 10-speed auto, so just bear in mind. Everything that I just said about the 10-speed auto, it's behind that V6 3 litre line motor as well. So yeah, in terms of what I would do if I had that V6 engine, I would just maintain it and do servicing. Like I said, service it more regularly. It will end up being cheaper. It's your best chance at minimizing costs in the long run. It's obviously not a bulletproof thing, but if you want to maximize your chances, more regular maintenance is your best chance at getting the most out of it. Anyway, that's all I can think of off the top of my head. I'm going to go have another Red Bull. I hope this answered your questions. And if not, if you own one of them and you didn't know what to do, hopefully that gave you some guidance. Anyway, I will see you in the next video.